Here's the text of Paul Harvey's 1978 So God Made a Farmer speech, which inspired the Ram Trucks Super Bowl ad that has resonated so much with the Americans. And this is the way Paul Harvey said it in 1978. His true and honest words. And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, and then go off to town and stay past midnight to the meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle a calf and yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, wait to have lunch until his wife's done feeding visiting ladies, and tell the ladies to be sure to come back real soon, and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of a car tire, who can make harness out of haywire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, and who at planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, then pain from tractor back, put in another 72 hours, so God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to tame lambs and wean pigs and tend to pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour and splint the leg of a meadowlark, and had to be somebody who plowed deep and straight and not cut corners, somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the seed self-feeder and finish the hard week's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who bailed a family together with the soft bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with simple eyes when his son says he wants to spend his life doing what his dad does. So God made a farmer. Welcome to the very first episode of Meet the Cape Cod Farmer. I'm James Kneiriem, known as Farmer Jim. I run Miss Scarlett's Blue Ribbon Farm in Yarmouthport with my wife. I am the current president of the Cape and Islands Farm Bureau, and I would like to tell you that today is 3 days after the blizzard of 2013. Some farmers on the Cape have suffered some substantial damage and some weathered very well. I appreciate the fact that we're going to do some great interviews with some wonderful and great farmers, the farmers on Cape Cod. Today I'm very fortunate to have Gretel Norgeot. Gretel is the owner. Her and her husband own Checkerberry Farm in Orleans, Massachusetts. Gretel has worn a number of caps in her community, and she is the manager and president of the Orleans Farmers Market. We're going to talk about the Orleans Farmers Market. They are celebrating their 20th year in the market in Orleans, and we're also going to talk a little bit about a program that Gretel has started at the Nauset High School with the science teacher, and she's growing food to give back to the school with the students. She's got an after-school program where they're learning how to farm and to grow nutritious, wonderful vegetables. But the best part about Gretel is she's the best garlic grower on Cape Cod. Gretel, thank you for coming here today. What should the Cape Cod farmers community that appreciate everything know about Gretel?
There's a lot to know. You know, it's where do you start?
Well, the beginning would be great.
Well, I grew up on the Cape, born in Hyannis, and went to the local schools, went to Nauset High School, went to the tech school in Harwich for agriculture. In the early years of the tech school, I was in the 3rd graduating class.
You're old.
So, yeah, I'm really old. It was a really new school then, and we put in all the irrigation systems on the ball fields because the school didn't have any of that, so we got, right from the beginning, hands-on on a lot of different issues.
Right.
Then I got married and had kids and didn't really do much agriculture for a while. Always, as a kid, always had gardens with my parents and my grandparents, and so gardening has always been part of my life.
Right. Now, the Norjos have a lot of history on Cape Cod.
Yes, the Norjos came with the French Cable Museum. Well, it's a museum now, but it was the French Cable Telegraph station in Orleans, and another branch of the family went to New York because they have a telegraph station there. So there's a lot of Orleans families that are connected to the telegraph office.
Well, let's talk about your garlic a little bit, Gretel, and your history of your farming in Orleans, the difficulties and the great things about it. How did you get started with garlic?
Well, doing the farmer's market for a number of years, I saw that everybody was growing vegetables. You know, people show up with beans and onions and carrots, and everybody had the same thing. And so I have always been kind of looking for something that was a little bit different, something that would be the hot item.
Right. Now I'll ask you a question. Do you know where 98% of the garlic is grown?
Well, there's a couple of different places, but I believe the biggest place is Washington State.
In the United States?
In the United States.
But outside of the United States, all the
I would
garlic...
say China.
Yes, it is China. And my quandary is why, with all the fertile agricultural lands that this country has, why can't we grow China? Why can't we grow enough garlic to sustain our country?
We can.
Then we need to do it.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the Cape Codders, you know as well as I do, the local Cape Codders love buying fresh and buying local.
I think the important part about buying the fresh part, buying local and buying fresh, is that it hasn't been treated. A lot of the garlic that comes in from China, along with potatoes and whatever else gets imported, is treated with a growth inhibitor, which is not a good thing to put into your body.
Right, right. And we've had, and tests are showing now, 30, 40 years later after they've come up with this stuff, that there is some health risks associated with.
But maybe I just need to elaborate a little bit on that, because people might not know what that is. And the growth inhibitor prevents the garlic or the potatoes or whatever from sprouting while it's in storage. Right. So it prolongs the shelf life of that item. Right,
but with a prolonged period of storage, there's less nutritional value.
Right, right.
You may still have the flavor on certain things, but the nutritional value.
Well, the difference between fresh harvested garlic and garlic in the grocery store, the fresh garlic is juicy. It's like a fresh onion. When you cut an onion and the onion juice comes out of it, fresh garlic will do the same. And when you buy it from the grocery store, it doesn't have that.
That's right, and that goes back to the theory, less is more. When you're buying fresh, you're getting a more nutritious, better product. You only have to use less of a product to get more of a flavor and more of a nutritional value. That's a very good thing. So, Gretel, the Orleans Farmers Market, you started that with who, 20-something years ago?
Well, I didn't actually start it. It started in 1994, and I joined the market in 1995. Mm-hmm. There was a group of maybe 10 or 15 growers in Orleans. Right. The first market met at the bowling alley in Orleans, which a lot of people don't remember. I guess they had parking issues. They used the space, I think, for parking school buses and things like that. And so there were some conflicts. They moved the market to the parking lot of the Cape Cod 5 Operations Center, which is on West Road in Orleans. Yeah. Saturday mornings, blacktop surface. It was great. There was plenty of parking. Mm-hmm. The parking lot kind of goes around the building, so the vendors were in the back and the customers could park in the front, and they had a space where they could kind of rope it off, so people would wait until the market opened, and then it was great.
And you're the manager?
I am president and manager.
President and manager, but you gave the manager's position up and you got inherited
Well,
it
I got it back again, yes.
Well, that's right. But Gretel, behind every successful operation, I want everybody to know in the Cape there's a woman telling men what to do, and that's a very good thing, to have a woman in your life tell you how you're doing things wrong or doing things right. Gretel, how many vendors are you up to there now?
35.
And it's every Saturday from?
The market opens at 8 and runs till noon.
And it starts in May.
Yes, mid-May, which is decided on every year by the vendors at our annual meeting.
Right.
And we go through till November, usually the week before Thanksgiving.
And you've had some real expansion over the last year or two.
Yeah, so when the market was at the bank, there were about 15, maybe 20 vendors. And then the girl that was, Tina Vandewater, was running the market at that time. She and her husband moved to New York State. And I was afraid the market was not going to function because there was nobody to take over. So I took over the market and immediately decided to move it closer to the center of town. I found the lot that we're in now, which is a overflow septic area or reserve space to do septic for the Orleans marketplace, so it can never be built on.
Right, and what's the road in the back there on Orleans? It's
Old Colony Way.
Old Colony Way. Yeah, it's a wonderful market if you get the opportunity to go there. 8 o'clock. The vendors have to be in an hour beforehand. They're all set up. They get all set up, and at 8 o'clock, it's roped off, and a bell rings, and it's like the stampede in Spain going after the bulls. Everybody runs to their designated farmer or to their value-added place. They have some great and wonderful farmers up there. E&T Farms, Cape Cod Organics. You might want to mention some of the other ones from up in that area that...
Well, we have a lot of homeowner type farmers too, because part of the bylaws for our market is that the vendors only come from within Barnstable County.
Right.
So we don't get big off-Cape farmers as part of our market, which has helped to encourage the small scale grower to be part of the local agriculture.
Right. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You're keeping your keeping the money local. You're buying fresh. You're buying local. You're helping to have a farmer make a living on Cape Cod, or you're helping somebody augment their employment and make enough just to survive on Cape Cod.
And retired people that maybe want a little extra off season. Right. And it's also a social atmosphere. You know, a lot of people come just because they like to meet the customers and have the customers be part of what they're doing. Right,
and it is. You go there, it's phenomenal. My wife is fortunate to do it. You go rain, shine, sleet, snowstorms, thunderstorms, you show up, and the customers, the customers that participate at the Orleans Farmers Market are wonderful. I mean, they will come out when it's
pouring rain.
With
their umbrellas.
With their umbrella.
Their knee boots.
And right. And everybody's standing there, huddled up underneath the tents, trying to keep warm. Is there anybody you would like to highlight up in the Orleans area that some of your...
I think all the vendors are great. Everybody's got a little bit different just because somebody has, you might have 6 vendors that have green beans, but they're all different beans. Right. Or we've now got a few cranberry vendors that come in the fall. Right. We have smoked fish, we have regular fish, we've got vendors doing jams and jellies, homemade breads, soap, we've got a girl doing cheese. Right. It's just got lots of different...
Right. It's a great market, and you can do most of your produce shopping for that week, and it's seasonal. Spring, it's early, you got the greens, and if somebody was fortunate to hold over some carrots or some beets, early spring you get the greens that everybody's looking for. Summertime you get those luscious, wonderful tomatoes and the green beans and leeks and all those other things. And then you go into fall, and everybody's, sweet corn too is another big thing in the summertime. And then you go into the fall, and it's all different types of
pumpkins and squashes.
The pumpkins, the squashes, your kales and everything else, and leeks and onions and potatoes. It's just a great thing. And it's important to know that anybody that hasn't been to the Orleans Farmers Market has a website, and that is
www.orleansfarmersmarket.com.
Right, and
it's very easy.
There's some great sponsors. They have farmers links, and they have business links, and they have events. Every Saturday there's somebody playing music, folk music, country music, popular music. been able to get
and again, it's local musicians.
It's local musicians, and they don't really get paid. They get a little trade for some vegetables and things like that, and they really enjoy it. Let's talk about your special project that, for a moment here.
My newest project.
Your newest project, amongst the 500 hats that Gretel wears. You have a project up at the Nauset High School, and I'd like you to tell everybody about that.
So I guess it really started when my kids were at the school, and I was up there. I had a son that played basketball. I was there all the time, and I realized that there was a little greenhouse out in back of the school. I'd say little. It's about 12 feet wide and 30 feet long, made out of poly, rigid plastic. And so I was curious about it, and I met one of the science teachers that had gotten a grant to do some hydroponic growing inside the greenhouse. Well, she was struggling and it wasn't working, and we talked about all kinds of things, and I worked with her off and on for a year or two. And then 3 years ago, I guess, we decided that some of the other science teachers were really interested, and so I went to a couple of the local contract Mid-Cape home centers and different places and got lumber for raised beds, soil to fill the beds, and we decided we were going to do some outside growing to really grow some lettuce and carrots and things for the cafeteria.
Good.
So we had 3 good years of that. The kids one summer grew so much produce that we wound up taking it to the Orleans Council on Aging, which they loved because, you know, summertime when there's no school, what do you do?
Right.
So there were a few kids that came.
You go pull the weeds.
Right.
Because the kids aren't.
But they had wonderful salads. They grew sugar snap peas and carrots and lettuce and radishes and all kinds of things that were fairly quick growing and easy to harvest.
Is the school real receptive to this? Was administration and everything receptive to?
Yes.
Are they supportive?
Well, at this point now, we've switched what we're growing. They had a large portable classroom unit that was 30 plus years old and at the end of its life, which was next to the greenhouse area.
Yeah.
So they tore that down in 2010. And I talked with the principal and the science teachers, and we decided that we were going to try to make that into a big garden area. So now we have a space that's 150 feet across the front, or 200 feet across the front and 150 feet deep.
So it's over a half acre.
Yes, it's
That's
a good
lot
size.
to take care of.
Yes. So last year we gardened half of that, and we planted potatoes and broccoli and carrots and, you know, just onions. We had lots of onions and pumpkins on a large scale.
Really? And they ate this at the school.
Well, so the schools also had issues with trying to decide.
There's
always
always an issue with somebody.
Trying to decide whether to outsource the cafeteria help and all this other stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on that you don't always want to get involved with. So we got the produce went into the culinary foods class. The teacher had 120 kids that she was teaching soup making.
Oh, good.
For her fall term. So we had onions and potatoes and garlic, and carrots and pumpkins and all kinds of things, and she was just so happy to have pounds and pounds and pounds of produce to help to make soups.
Well, getting back to that, it's important, you know, the last 25 or 30 years, we have forgotten how to garden. To garden
and to cook.
And to cook. And, you know, I think back to my high school days, it was mandatory for me to take a semester of home ec to learn to sew a button on and to boil water and to, you know.
Right, yes,
do
and
all
kids
those
don't
things.
do that anymore.
And our schools have gotten so far to the right or so far to the left, like gym, you know. You used to take gym every day and you used to go out and run and play. But it's good. So this year, are you doing the same thing this spring, or are you up there every week?
Right, so the food's going to go into the culinary class for now because they are able to process the food. Part of the problem of getting it into the cafeteria is somebody has to peel the carrots and make carrot sticks out of them and really handle the food.
But why is that a problem? That's just life.
It is life, but somebody's got to do it.
Right.
And the question is somebody going to get paid for doing it? Are you going to get volunteers to do it? Who's going to coordinate the whole thing? So there's a lot more to it than just going and picking and eating.
Right, but they have a program similar to this on Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket.
Yes.
And that's working very well.
They actually have a huge nonprofit group that is managing and organizing the whole business.
So they have volunteers that come in and do a lot of the grunt work.
And they have people they're paying to oversee a lot of the work that's getting done.
So what's your vision? What would you like to see happen with this little program that you're doing up there?
Well, I would like to see it take on a life of its own. You know, even with the farmers market in the beginning, you kind of struggle. You don't have enough vendors, you don't have enough customers, you know, you have to kind of wait until things work themselves out, and then all of a sudden it's a good thing and everybody's onto it, and now the farmers markets are booming. So I think the same thing is going to happen with the farm to cafeteria, farm to school operation, where people think it's a lot of work. I've tried to get some people involved in it, and they say to me, "Oh, I don't like to weed. You know, I don't want to do this." So
that's the most peacefulest time of your life, is when you're pulling weeds or
I
when
love
you're
to be in the
planting
garden.
something, you know what I mean? And
so, but it's been hard for me to try to figure out, you know, do I want to volunteer all my time going up there doing this? It's a lot of work to try to plan. And so this year, I have signed up with the Nauset Adult Education Program to be a teacher for their program.
Nice.
So I'm going to teach a gardening class that's going to take place at the high school. The program is going to pay me to do the teaching, and hopefully we'll have enough people volunteer or, you know, pay to take the class, so they can help in the garden. We'll get the weeding and the planting and everything done. The food will then go into the culinary class, and we will definitely grow enough so those people will be able to take food home with them.
Right. Well,
so it's a CSA, it's a community-supported agriculture, where everybody works towards the cause.
And a community-supported agriculture is you reap the rewards when things are great, and you suffer the failures of the farm, and failures are not always man-made. They're environmental, they're weather-related, they're storm-related, they're hurricane-related, and that's a good thing. So, do you have funding and all that for that, or are you looking for something special?
I've written a few grants. A couple of the science teachers and I did a little 3-folded brochure that we went around to people in the community looking for donations. We've worked with the school. They have a special account set up for us so people can make donations to this account, the garden account for the high school.
I think you should get that out there right now. Let's the community know you know, $5 buys a pack of seeds.
Right.
You know,
or 2 packs even.
Or 2 packs of seeds if you're buying them wholesale through a vendor. And $5 worth of seeds is a lot of seeds if you're a commercial grower and you can grow a lot. So I think it's time for you to ask your little appeal to the Orleans Nauset High School area.
Well, we started a blog page so that people could they could go online and see what we were doing, and it's nrhsgarden.blogspot.com. And that has all the information on it, and it shows pictures of the building that was there and the spreading of the new loam in the garden and you know, as progress goes. So one of the newest pictures that I haven't put on the web page is the collapse of the greenhouse during this last weather related event. Yes, Nemo, I guess.
Right.
And the greenhouse, it looks like the wind just kind of picked it up and dumped it sideways. So the whole thing is still kind of standing, but it is just, it's a mess. It's broken. And we've been saving, we've got money in an account that we were going to put a fence around the whole garden to make our food supply a secure food supply.
Because of deer, and
because of deer,
because of people.
And because of people. We grew pumpkins last year. We thought we were going to sell pumpkins for a fundraiser for the garden, and we had people come along and pick our pumpkins just before Halloween.
Well,
so, you know,
shame on them.
I don't
shame on them when you're trying to do something good and beneficial to the community.
Right, but if they don't know, you know, then that's part of it.
They know. People know.
I don't really care for fences, but I guess, you know, you do need fences.
Right. Now you're growing organically up there?
All organic.
Organically and sustainable? Mm-hmm. Right. If anybody needs information about this, your website is Checkerberry Farm?
Yes.
And you can get Gretel through Checkerberry Farm.
Checkerberry Farm. I have a Facebook page for Checkerberry Farm. I also have my own Facebook page. So there's many ways out there to get in touch with me.
And Orleans and Nauset High School could really use a little financial support at the moment.
For the high school garden.
For the high school. Rebuild their greenhouse and get some seeds bought and some fertilizer bought and some tools. I'm sure you need tools. Tools are expensive. They're not cheap anymore.
Right, tools and seeds mostly. We really aren't adding any extra fertilizer. We're organic, and the way that I garden is with mulch and worms, earthworms. So the mulch creates an environment for the worms, and the worms do the fertilizer. So it's sustainable, and it's not a cost that we have to.
Right, but there's a cost involved in it somewhere along the
Right.
line. There's always those little added features.
At the moment, it's the labor cost
Right.
that's the expensive part.
Well, you talk about it taking a life of its own. I've been involved with Harwich Food Pantry, and
That's grown.
They have taken on a life of its own. They have a lot of Orleans people that come down and volunteer. They have senior citizens that come and volunteer. They have
Master gardeners, I think.
Master gardeners
Yep.
are getting involved with
Yep.
it, and they have Army Corps,
Oh, right.
the volunteer AmeriCorps.
AmeriCorps.
And if you've ever been up there, they do really dense farming. I mean, they put in a crop, they harvest it, they put in a crop. You know, they're doing 3 crops, trying to get 3 crops a year out of,
Yep.
square foot farming. And they're doing it, trying to do it as organically and sustainable. And they've had the community has really donated to them. And not that the food pantry is not an important thing, but I mean, we need to start with the youth of America, and I think a little bit of it should fall over into your high school up there at Nauset, and there has to be a balance to it. So if some senior citizen or a master gardener has a few extra hours a week, I'm sure the school has their procedures that they have to go through to allow them on school property, especially with the world that we live in.
Right. Well, the program that we are doing right at the moment is after school, so that cuts a lot of that. You do still have to be aware of who's on the property, but you're not there during the school day, so it helps.
Right. It's not like when we went to school when your father could come in and tell you, what did you do wrong? I'm going to stay here all day. Well, we've had an interesting conversation. I'd like to end this program with a couple highlights. 4 years ago, Truro, now you're familiar with the Truro Ag Fair.
Yes.
Truro, every Labor Day, Truro has a ag fair that's all community. I think 10, 11,000 people come out.
The first year they were only expecting maybe 2,000 at the most, and I think they got 10,000 people, and they were just amazed that
And it's a free event.
Free event, and it's a one-day event.
Right, and it emulates times gone past when life was a little easier.
You'd be surprised how much agriculture there is on the Lower Cape. In the Truro area, there's people with sheep and cows and big garlic growers down there too.
Right. Bob Wells is down in that area and things like that. But I wanted to highlight the Truro Ag Fair. They have a website, TruroAgFair.com or .org. I think they're a .org. It's if you see the little rooster bumper stickers, till baby till. I love those little bumper stickers. And Francine is in charge of that with a number of people up there, and they have a website. I'd like you to get a hold of that and try to get out to these markets. Cape Cod has some great farmers markets. They have Orleans Farmers Market, they have the Harwich Farmers Market, they have a Chatham Farmers Market, they have a Wellfleet Farmers Market, they have a Provincetown Farmers Market, they have a Dennis Farmers Market now, they have the Yarmouth Bass River Farmers Market, they have Osterville Farmers Market, they had the Mid-Cape Farmers Market, they have 2 in Sandwich, they had the Mahoney's Farmers Market, and there's...
So what's that, about 15 farmers markets?
And there's not enough farmers really to supply all these farmers.
Right, many of those farmers markets have the same farmers going to the markets.
And that's, you can find that at your Buy Fresh Buy Local at website for these farmers. The Buy Fresh Buy Local is a great resource to have on Cape Cod. I can remember doing this, you know, when nobody cared what any of it was.
Right, so it's Buy Fresh, Buy Local Cape Cod.
Right.
I see actually that you have one of the older posters here.
Right.
So
CMAP is Southeast Massachusetts Agricultural Preservation. That's for southeastern Massachusetts. They do fall over onto the Cape. And Buy Fresh, Buy Local Cape Cod will give you all the information and resources that you need for restaurants that buy from farmers and people that are doing jellies and jams and shellfish and clams and oysters and
there's a section for people that just want to support agriculture, that aren't restaurant people or growers, that they just fall in that gray zone in between. So.
Right. I would also like to say that I'm the president of the Cape and Islands Farm Bureau. You can get a hold of me at farmerjimcapecod@comcast.net, farmerjimcapecod@comcast.net. You can email me any of your agricultural questions or backyard farming questions, and I will get it to the appropriate people. The Harwich Conservation Trust and the Cape and Islands Farm Bureau is having a meet and greet the farmer, which is March 23rd between 2 and 4 at the Harwich Community Center at 100 Oak Street in Harwich. I think this is our 4th year doing that, and it's usually beginning of March, middle of March, and if it's a sunny day, 500-600 people show up. If it's a blustery day, not so many show up, but it's a great venue for all the people that are looking for locally grown products, resources, and that being fiber, being poultry and meat, being produce, trees and nurseries. There's a whole jams and jellies, value-added stuff, breads. It's a good resource to come to. The Cape Cod Extension will be there with their Buy Fresh, Buy Local venue, getting information. Tasha Ramos. And other than that, I need to wish my daughter Rebecca a happy birthday. She's 10 years old today. She asked me what I was going to do special for her, and this is about as special as I can get. It's February 13th, and it's her birthday, and she's 10. She's not quite a teenager yet. And I want to thank Gretel, who has been the backbone, like I say, behind every successful man or organization, there's a woman telling them what they're doing wrong or doing right. And I want to thank Gretel Norjo for being my first interview with Meet the Cape Cod Farmer. Did you have anything else you'd like to end with, Gretel?
No, but I think that we probably have lots of information. We could do another show at some point after you've interviewed a few other people.
I think we should come to the school and see what's happening at the school, maybe when there's not 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Right, when there's actually something to see, something growing.
Right.
In my own farm, I'd be happy to share that with you.
Now you're a knitter. You also do spinning.
Oh yes, I'm part of the. I'm a master gardener. I belong to the Farm Bureau, Cape Cod Spinners Guild. So I do homespun yarn. I knit. I crochet.
Right. You've used a couple of the
quilt.
You used a couple of the shorn sheep from our farm, from Miss Scarlett's Blue Ribbon Farm.
Yep.
Well, I want to tell everybody to get smart, get local, buy fresh, buy local, and have a great winter. We're going to have a great series. Next up is the Buy Fresh, Buy Local people from the Cape Cod Extension. It would be Bill Clark, Tasha Ramos, and Russell Norton. And I thank you for letting us come into your home. I'm Farmer Jim at Miss Scarlett's Blue Ribbon Farm, and Gretel Norjo from Checkerberry Farm.
Thank you, Jim. It's been great.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.